Hey, I'm Colby Keller, porn star, artist, and sex blogger. Get in bed with me.
Hey there, hunters. It's me, Colby Keller, your resident expert. Now, last week I was talking to guest Zachary Barnett of endhiv.com. He was just about to tell me about the Berlin patient. Zachary?
Timothy Brown was the first man ever cured of AIDS. And he was an American guy living in Berlin who got leukemia, and he was also HIV positive. And because of the leukemia, he had to have a bone marrow transplant. He had to have a stem cell transplant, otherwise he was going to die. So his doctor basically said, look, while we're doing this anyway, why don't we give you a bone marrow transplant from a donor that's naturally HIV resistant or HIV immune. And so they gutted his whole immune system, they tore it out, they gave him 2 bone marrow transplants. And when his immune system grew back, HIV had nowhere to go. There was no receptors for it on his new immune system, so he was cured. He cured of AIDS. So it was the first time people said, oh, there is a proof of concept here. We can cure this. Right. How do we do this normally? Because that procedure costs hundreds of thousands of dollars and is 60% mortality rate. So you can easily die from it.
Well, I have a question for you, though. He could technically get HIV again, correct?
Nope, I don't think so. There's nowhere for HIV to go. So HIV can't reproduce on its own. It's a virus. It's just a shell. So it needs to get inside human immune cells to reproduce. It reproduces inside the CD4 cell. So if it has nowhere to go and nowhere to get into to reproduce, it's a totally benign virus. The virus itself doesn't kill your system. It kills your immune system. So if it can't get in the immune system, it's not a threat.
So, but in your case, you are positive, but you're not affected by the kind of maleffects of the virus. Correct?
Yeah, my body's able to keep replication undetectable. So HIV is not actively eating away at my immune system. My immune system is really robust. My body's able to suppress it. So in my case, I'm not having any symptoms because the HIV is kept in check. So it's almost like I'm on meds, but I don't have any symptoms.
So how is your case different than the bone marrow donor?
We're probably very similar. Okay. So some people's immune cells are so mutated that they have no receptor. Okay. Some are mutated that they have a receptor, but it's just oddly shaped. So HIV can get in, but let's say it takes it 15 times the normal amount of time to get in there. Right. So it really has to work to get in. And in that time, your body does produce antibodies to HIV. Right. But usually they're just not. The equation is slanted in HIV's favor. So for me, I carried a viral load for the first 6 months, and then my body figured it out and was able to kind of suppress it. Okay. So yeah.
So a lot of people are probably thinking then, what about gene therapy?
Yeah.
What are some of the hurdles with that?
People haven't been able to do it. The concept is there. I think a lot of the basic elements of the science are there. But no one's really been able to effectively do it yet. It's a very new idea. It's very interesting, but the hurdles to activating that are, it's in its early days. So actually getting the concept into the body and working like you want is proving to be much more difficult than people had anticipated.
Right. So tell me more about your vaccine. I understand you've had some funding challenges.
I think, there's a couple reasons I got involved. I think a large amount of the HIV positive community today is a little apathetic. We have drugs to keep us healthy. People don't want to identify themselves as positive because they don't want to be, stigmatized against. So there are a lot of hurdles to getting the community pissed off or engaged enough to really push and to try things that are new, try things that are different, take matters into their own hands. Our approach is so different and so outside the box that it's been a little challenging for traditional academics to get behind it because we're proposing a new type of antibody, we're proposing a new type of vaccine. So it's a lot of, with anything new in science, it takes a lot of convincing for people to get on board. And then the other obstacle is human trial process takes about $1 billion to take an idea and move it all the way through 3 stages of clinical trials and manufacturing and then the commercial aspect. So you're not going to be able to move all the way to a product on the shelf without a pharma company. And pharma companies don't want to invest until you have human data. So you have this gap between a scientist that's got great research and then your first human trial, which is about $5 million. And not enough people are addressing that, right? So I basically taken matters in my own hand, and we've been fundraising. So this year we're going to try and raise another $1.5 million, and we'll do a first small human trial. And if it works like it does in animals, then we'll see some corporate funding, some pharma funding, hopefully.
So how much money do you have so far?
So far we've raised about $750,000, and that's gone to hire an FDA regulatory specialist. Colby, did you see How to Survive a Plague?
I did, yes.
Okay, so the woman at the end at the FDA, Ellen Cooper, she's behind the desk. They're talking about that blindness medication. Right. She's my regulatory specialist.
Oh,
so
okay.
I was on the phone with her this morning. She's taking my product through the FDA. She opened that division of antiretrovirals. Okay. So she's a powerful woman we've got on board. She's incredible. We're actually submitting our first letter to the FDA today to start the process to test on humans. We've done manufacturing. We've upped the manufacturing scale out of the lab into a commercial facility. And then the final amount of money will be to do a small human trial.
So do you feel like you're getting support from the government and the FDA in your efforts?
FDA, they're pretty impartial. The government definitely has its own, the people who run the offices at the government have their own research going on, so you kind of go up in competition against the government a bit. And even other AIDS organizations, they don't want to estrange the government. So if the government's not directly behind you, it used to be that, the AIDS organizations would fight back more, but now they kind of want to stay in pocket. Right. We've really had to strike out on our own a bit and build, alliances outside of the traditional streams. Right. But I think that's what makes us exciting, is that we're not afraid to break out on our own.
So is there anyone else working with therapeutic vaccines? No, I hate to interrupt, but we've reached our time limit today. Please come back next week for more from our very handsome guest, Zachary Barnett. Till then, bye, boys.